It's great to be here. I am all immersed in the conference now. I am doing what I call interpretive touch drawing, and I'm going to share how I do the drawings, and then and share a little bit of a story and give you context, because this is the third Parliament that I've ever drawn at. And I just find it such an honor and a blessing to be here as a conference artist. So I'm going to show you touch drawing right here. All right, this is a board, and I have put paint on the board. This is a paint in little dabs, and I've rolled it out already, so I'm ready to go. I'm rolling it smooth, and then when I'm demonstrating here, I'm using actually a different paper. So everywhere I touch the paper with my fingertips, this is why it's called touch drawing. So when I use my fingertips, I'm getting soft marks, and I can touch lightly. When I use my fingernails, I'm getting sharper marks. I'm not always drawing with two hands. Right now when I'm demonstrating, I am drawing a face, as you can see. But when I'm sitting and listening, I am drawing whatever comes. And you will see the first examples of that, of what I did last night. Excuse the rattly drawing board. There. So I'm going to pull this off. And I'm going to lift it up. And you can see what I just drew. If any questions come up, I'm happy to see them in the chat. And now, in between drawings, I roll them smooth. And you can see I'm erasing the little markings from the previous drawing. That's why I roll it. And probably we have time for me to just do one more. Just to show you how I also work with one hand. And what I am doing is, this keeps me really concentrated. What I do is sit in stillness, and I listen, and I wait for an impulse. And I'm listening, and I'm also feeling as I'm taking in the content. And right now I felt an impulse of a circle. So I don't know what the rest of the drawing is going to be, but I'm going to follow that first impulse. When I'm doing the actual drawings during the conference, the paper is heavier. It's not quite as easy for me to see through, but it's the same general process because I can see enough to interact with it, but it's very light. So let's see. So there's like a moon-like circle. And Okay, so again, I'm just doing what comes, and it's turning into what you will see is I felt a little figure, and I felt like the figure wanted to be, and move them up here, wanted to be sort of one with the earth. So this gave a scale to that circle. Could have been a circle someone was holding. Could have been, could have been anything when I first did it. But it turns out to be much like a moon or a sun. And then maybe what I'll do is, so watch when I'm working with one hand, it's different fingers decide to sort of take the lead, or sometimes lots of fingers at once. Okay, so I will show you that drawing. So these are happening even faster than when I'm listening during the conference. I mean, this paper is a little faster to work on, but this gives you a feeling of what I'm doing. So now I'm going to show you. I'm going to share screen. Most artists think of being alone in their studio. And that is certainly something that I do. This happens to be a photograph of a retreat I was on Iona. And a very strong face happened to be on the floor that I just created. But I like to also be around people and take in the energy of the just the power, the content, the spirit that's happening when people are gathering and exploring the deep human subjects. Certainly more spiritually oriented is what I'm attracted to. Earth vision, conferences I have been to over many, many, many years. This is the Seeds of Compassion with the Dalai Lama in Seattle, Washington, where I managed to get into the press booth and sit and draw. I also go out into nature. So you saw my hand rolling before, and this is, imagine that you're me. You've just hiked up to the bottom of Mount Rainier. I'm not actually on the glacier, but I'm very close to it with my drawing materials. And I'm rolling the paint out just like you saw me do. And I'm sitting and doing and touch drawing, and it's wild and windy. And see that same hand and roller? That's from my point of view in the crypt at Roslyn Chapel. So now you might be starting to get the idea that I carry my drawing materials around out into the world, and I feel the presence of place, the presence of nature, and do inner interpretations, do how they affect my psyche. I'm not sketching. I'm not looking and drawing what it looks like. I'm feeling and drawing what I feel as I'm in these settings. And there I am on another trip to Roslyn Chapel, sitting at the front. Sometimes I've been at the back, sometimes at the front, depends on how it's gotten more crowded in recent years. That's in Scotland. Out when I go on a little day hike, I bring my drawing materials. I'm sitting right over a stream and waterfall there. And this is on a journey to visit ancient yew trees in Wales. Always hunched over my drawing board, listening within, feeling within. And I was very blessed to also have a trip through Guatemala with Tata Pedro Cruz Ruiz and Shuni Giron, and very honored to be able to draw. We were actually in Tukun here, and because he is a official priest, you know, he can do the fire ceremonies. It was just us, and he said, "You do your ceremony." So while he did his fire ceremony, I did touch drawing. This is actually my husband, who's a whirling dervish. So I have been at many semas of the whirling dervishes over the years. And there I am, pulling a touch drawing off at one of the semas, and you can see a very Sufi-looking face that I've drawn. So sometimes it's a presence of a being. And here I am at a conference at Fintorn Foundation. You can see what it's like to see the speaker speaking, and I'm pulling the drawing off the board here. Just a fresh drawing. And these are the kinds of drawings you will see in just a couple of minutes. This is at the dawn of interspirituality in Costa Rica. And grandmother, Abuela Maria, I think, or Margarita. And that's a drawing. She's looking at a drawing that I had done while she was speaking. And if you look at that face on the lower right, you can sort of feel the connection between her and that face. Sadly, both of those elders have passed in this past year. Here I am at the last parliament. I don't know how many of you were at that parliament, but I was sitting there, and I also did it at the parliament in 2015 in Salt Lake City. I was sitting on the floor, right up against the left side of the stage from the stage point of view, with a little cushion and a drawing board. And that's where musicians were about to play. And this is, again, my point of view. I've never done a slide presentation where I'm sharing my point of view like this. And the speaker's way little over there, but all I need to do is hear them, not really see them so well. Someone snapped a picture of me while I was working. So this is what it's like. And this is what it's like right in my studio as I'm drawing for the parliament this week. And this was just so incredible because from my seat there, I could look up and all the speakers were lining up in that row. So I got to just be in the presence of this rich diversity of dedicated humans. And, you know, they were watching me draw. I was feeling their presence. It was such a beautiful interchange. And there I am. Any of you who were there at that conference, this is what happened in the course of that week. This is a shorter conference, so there won't be 168 drawings, but so I'm going to share 2 series of drawings that I have just created during the Parliament. This first set was created during the plenary on grief. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how it feels to sit there and listen and create. This, for me, this image came right when we were beginning. For me, it's something of the archetypal image of the hooded woman in grief. And I just felt that arising from my body. And this is a more intensive version of that, of that wailing of grief that maybe in some cultures we've lost touch with, but I actually believe is an important and archetypal kind of release. And again, I was just listening to the speakings from the various plenary presenters. So I'm not literally illustrating what they're saying.
it was moving along too quickly, actually. They were very short presentations. But I'm feeling behind and inside of the content. So if you can feel this in your body, the energetics of this, I am impressing my body sensation into the content and the feeling behind the content that's being shared. And this would have been done with two hands, as you remember me sharing before, moving these shapes through touch onto the paper. And as I continue into a series of drawings, they can become more refined, more detailed. First of all, you can see that I did not roll in between the previous drawing and this, and you can see this kind of ghost image of those curvy lines. And then again, it's a sensation of, okay, I feel a presence in the chest, and I just follow that. I sense it in my own subtle body in a way, in the presence of the content. Again, there was a lot about the expression of grief, and you will see again the ghost image that I didn't roll out, and I'm usually aware of wanting to keep that by not rolling it out. And the interesting thing in reflecting upon these drawings, within grief, there is hope. And within, you will see in a minute, within the drawings that I did during the plenary on hope, there was grief. So this is a continuation and growth of that I in the chest, and yet it became more multiple and more collective. And again, I left the ghost image. I did a slight touch-up after this drawing was done before I photographed it. And what is arising from the flames, almost like the coals, is this rising hope. And this is a beginning of the series of drawings I did during the plenary on hope. I think the first thing I felt was a spiral movement, so I just put that on the paper, and then it's like I sense my subtle hand touching that. And this, in a sense, is like internalizing the touching of this spiral of possibility, bringing it within. And this felt like a buoyant figure that did express that quality of hope. I am responding in my physical and also subtle body to the content, and I'm tracing that onto the paper through the touch of my fingertips. And this one, it was, again, the cracking apart, this weaving of hope and grief in the two sets of drawings. This felt like that pain of the coming apart, of separation, and finding my way to hold that and contain that. Those polarities. And this was a final drawing that I did during the plenary on hope. First, I felt this hand, this open hand. It was action. I think there was talk about the action of hope. And then I realized there was a person inside of that. So there's this larger action that we can rise into, be contained by, be held by. So I can reflect upon these drawings after they're done. But while I'm creating them, it's a very almost physiological. I feel a hand, and so I draw that hand. And then I can feel someone within that arm rising within the hand. And now I'll be moving into a segment where I've selected, out of order, but created a slide sharing, and I will play music of a selection, maybe a half or a little more than a half of all the drawings I did during this year's Parliament.